Hello everybody and welcome to fall in New England. I am outside of Boston, Massachusetts, where in the last few days, fall has both officially and unofficially arrived. It is sweater weather, it is shawl weather, I even wore a hat this weekend. I'm gonna show you that in a second. Thanks for joining. My name is Erika and I host the Knit Kind podcast and my Grapefruit and Gardenia designs, which are on Ravelry. You can find in Erika Field's Ravelry store, and my profile name is NittyElf40. Thanks for joining me. I'm just popping in quickly today with a few more updates. I am wearing my Shearing Day shawl, and I am really wearing it. I've worn it probably half the days this past week. It's gorgeous. I am, of course, in love with the pattern because sometimes we have those patterns that we make and we just feel so proud of and so cozy wrapped in, and just like they came out just like you wanted. And what has happened this week is I have fallen even more in love with the wool. So this was made from one of Melissa Littlefield's kits on Knitting the Stash. I think she has a couple left, but not many. So if you have any interest in a kit with her Shorn 5 yarn, hop over there quickly and grab one. And if you have yarn in your stash, or you're gonna be supporting your local yarn shop, or in my case, you're gonna be hopping over to the Greater Boston Yarn Crawl later this week, there are so many beautiful choices. So please, any yarn that you're interested in using, you need 3 skeins, 250 yards of skein, DK weight yarn. It maximizes your use of yarn, so you can end it sooner. If you buy some of those skeins that are 225 yards, just know that you might need to modify the size a little bit, and there are some instructions for that in the pattern. You can really end it anywhere, but we have specific instructions for ending it here or continuing on. Or, I'm not gonna stop you, go buy another skein and make a bigger shawl. This is a beautifully sized shawl, fits a lot of people's bodies in different ways, but there's no reason you can't make it longer if you want to too. So if you buy that extra skein or 2 of or 3 of the 3 colors because you want to make sure you don't run out, and then you say, I've got all this left over, what do? You can keep going and keep going, or you can use it for one of my other patterns. So anyhow, Shearing Day shawl, it just came out last week. There are still kits available. And later this week on Friday, September 27th, I will be at the Unruly Stitch in Weston, Massachusetts with a trunk show. You can see it in person if you'd like. She has some beautiful yarns there, including the Bilaxtons, which is a nice British wool. If you like and actually I'm gonna show you the progress on my Artus Shawl. Good time to show you that. My Artus Shawl has been one of not my designs. It is Natasja Hornby's design, and I've been working on it on and off since last March. I'm really in the home stretch. You can find it on my project page if you want to know more about the specific colors that I chose, but this is the Sonder Yarn Sunday Morning DK, and they also have that at the Unruly Stitch. So it's huge, it's beautiful. I am in the very, very last section of color work, and then I have the I-cord bind off. And I had given myself sort of an unofficial goal of finishing it by Rhinebeck, because look at the colors, it's just such beautiful fall colors. I started it as part of the knit along at the shop, and I knew I'd be going a little bit slower, but I love it. So this is my Artus by Natasja Hornby in the Sunday Morning DK, which would be a beautiful choice for the Shearing Day shawl. It so happens to be a 250 or so yard per 100 gram skein DK weight yarn in a beautiful color palette, as you can see. So popping in today, it is Tuesday. It is Tuesday, September 24th, and I released today my 2 special patterns for Vermont sheep and wool. They are Tunbridge Cowl. Make sure I hold the back on the back. Okay, this is Tunbridge Cowl. This is a worsted weight yarn, held double at the bottom, and then held single throughout the rest of the cowl. It is 3 colors. In this case, I used Snowshoe Alpaca. I'm gonna show you the label in just a second. Snowshoe Farm Alpacas. A prettier label to hold up. There, this one doesn't have a fold. Snowshoe Farm Alpacas. Let me tell you, I haven't met these alpacas in person, but their pictures, oh my gosh, they're so fluffy and white and amazing, and they win awards for their fleece all the time. So this is a splurge yarn, but I'm gonna show you how I designed a set to hopefully maximize your yardage of a precious yarn. And also know that if you do decide to splurge on this yarn, it's really, really beautiful. So Terry, who is one of the caretakers of the alpaca, she collaborated, I'm morphing my words. She collaborated with me this summer, knowing that I was gonna be doing the Vermont Sheep and Wool Designer Alley. And she sent me some of her yarn to make a nice design for Vermont Sheep and Wool. It is the International Year of Camelids, and this yarn is a 50-50 blend of alpaca and fine wool. And so a lot of people who say they don't like alpaca for various reasons. First of all, we could talk about the best way to use alpaca, and I did that a little bit in another video. But when you have it blended 50-50 with a wool, I would absolutely use it for sweaters, but let's just, talk about accessories for a second. You're gonna get the best traits of both, especially with an alpaca that's this quality. And so you're gonna have the traits of alpaca being the warmth, the softness, and you're gonna have the fine wool, so you're not gonna have something that just, as people will say, just kind of flops. I knitted it at a gauge that I think is really comfortable for the yarn. So it's not stiff and it's not floppy. It's right in the middle. It's beautiful for color work. This is a 3-ply, I can tell you exactly. 50-50 wool alpaca, 3-ply worsted weight. It is 200 yards. And this particular one that I weighed was 110 grams. You'll notice a little bit of variation in the weight, and sometimes that is actually because of the dye too. So the I have one is 113 grams, I had the other one 110 grams, and then I had a third one. So in terms of what you're getting, yards per pound, people who are milling are probably laughing at me a little bit. There's much more formal ways to talk about this, but with 3 skeins, the color pumpkin spice, tamarack, and white, I made the smallest size of the cowl. So the cowl's available in 3 sizes. I have a narrow neck. So I made one that tapers in and it has 2 decreases to get to your top circumference. There is a middle one where there's only 1 decrease, and so it's a little bit wider in the upper neck. And the third one is essentially straight up. It just changes the stitch count for the patterns. So you have 3 different sizes of the cowl, and in this case, making the smallest size cowl, I was also able to make the 2nd size hat. And I like my beanies a little bit snug, so I'll try to insert a picture here. I would try it on for you, but I'm worried my earbud will come out, and that's what I'm using for my microphone today for this quick impromptu video. And I still had left from only 3 skeins, I want you to know, I still had, maybe is that my white? Yeah, hang on. Sorry, my white's lingering in my bag here. I knew I had, look how much I had left. Okay, I had quite a bit left. So I feel pretty confident working at gauge that you could get the smallest size cowl and the 3rd size hat, maybe the 2nd size cowl and the 2nd size hat. You might have to, I don't want to say play yarn chicken, but you can definitely get quite a few combinations of the size cowl and hat to make this set and still be okay. I even have this little swatch that I had to work on when I was working out some of the kinks with the crown of the hat. That's probably a story for another day. But it's a cool crown. It kind of like swirls in, and in order to make I have the crown here to show you, don't I? In order to make the swirl work, charted out. The directions are both charted and written out, but in order to make the chart work, for some reason, we had to make it look kind of funny. I call it more of like a city landscape, not landscape, horizon line, cityscape. I think words are failing me today. I'm a little short on sleep. But it, you know, my chart kind of looks like this, where it shows you where the actual decreases are taking away stitches, as opposed to a nice, neat crown chart, which is what I usually like to use, that looks like a wedge. I don't know why. It didn't work with the wedge, even though it read the same thing. So it doesn't really matter how we get there in the end, as long as it works correctly. It's been tested. I've knitted it twice now myself. Other testers have knitted it, and we know the pattern is correct, even if it's not a pretty wedge shape. It works, it's charted, it's written. And so to celebrate the International Year of Camelids, Vermont Sheep and Wool, and getting these patterns published with that hat that tried to throw us a little wrench, I decided to make a code VTSW, so Vermont Sheep and Wool, in Ravelry. And if you go in through the festival, so through October 6th, and you buy the cowl, put them both in your cart with code VTSW, and the hat pattern will be free. So it's essentially 2 for the price of 1. So I hope some of you will take advantage of that. I hope you'll enjoy this beautiful fall knitting and these fun motifs that are from Andrea Rangel, who wrote Knitovation, and the first one, her stitched alternate. I love color work. I love designing my own color work patterns, and I want to support other designers and people who are doing work in our industry as well. So I did get her stitch dictionaries, and this is one of her motifs, and the rest is, you know, this is mine that I designed, integrated them. I, you know, did some other things around it. The reason I put some of these other motifs is twofold. It's always about the design. It's also about the usability of the pattern. So how long you're carrying floats for, and you know, when you're carrying floats behind white or cream, excuse me, they often show through. And so by having some stitches in between, it becomes more beginner friendly, fewer floats to start popping through. It gives it a little design element. In this case, it's kind of a fall theme. So even though you could do these little trees to look more like pine trees or whatever types of trees you want, you know, there's this little idea of kind of leaves falling, and even with the swirl on top, to me, you know, when you see the leaves and they kind of twirl down to the ground, that's what that reminds me of. So, and same thing here. I talked about this in another podcast, so if you already saw it, it's a little repetitive, but you know, the motif here of the large maple leaf is from her book, but then I kind of alter what's around it. And again, have this motif that's a little bit geometric, a little bit like this feeling of leaves falling. And then where I held both of the yarns double, it reminds me of like jumping in a leaf pile, where there are the yellow leaves and the orange leaves and the brown leaves and the red leaves, and it just feels like fall. This is offset by a little bit of Swedish weave here. If this is something you've never tried, it's really fun. It's very similar to the stranded colorwork knitting, but you're moving one strand back and forth. And there's a video tutorial on KnitKind. If you look under tutorials, you'll see a video of how to do the Swedish weave. I've used it in another one of my patterns. I think it's just something that's fun and different. If you don't like it, you don't have to do it. You can modify it in different ways. You can even do it after the fact, and you can just go on with a strand of yarn and go under and over each stitch, but you can do it while you knit, just like you're doing color work. And then the motif up here is the Trailblazer motif that I flipped upside down. I did a different kind of rib, Pharaoh rib. I think it's just fun. I wore it this weekend. It was so cozy in the chilly, rainy air. So I think that's it. Those are my updates for today. Like I said, don't forget, if you're in Greater Boston and you are gonna do the yarn crawl, please come see me at Unruly Stitch this Friday, September 27th. I will be there definitely from 10 to 1, maybe a little bit of a buffer there afterwards, but I just want to be realistic about how long I can be there before I have to go school pickup and other things at home. And I will be at Vermont Sheep and Wool on the 4th, 5th, and 6th. 5th and 6th, whatever the Saturday and Sunday are. I think I am leaving on Friday the 4th to drive up there. So it's all here. It's all here, the fall festivals and all of the wonderful farm to fiber that we love so much. And I'm going to finish my Artus Shawl by Rhinebeck. Okay, everybody, I hope that you have enjoyed. I hope you check out the patterns, that you're having a happy fall knitting, and that I get to see you at one of these upcoming events. Live kindly, knit kindly, and thanks for watching.